The question is, how sour are those stickers right there? Good day, audio listeners, and welcome back to an album review. My name is Fago, and today's subject, Olivia Rodrigo, Sour. Olivia Rodrigo, a name that makes Generation Z squeal, at least a good majority of them. If you were active on social media, especially in 2021, you might have heard a few songs from her debut album, especially her debut single Driver's License that released to insane critical and commercial success. When I researched this album topped the charts in many countries, and this album is already being talked about as one of the greatest albums of all time. Because Olivia, taking history from her past and what she has dealt with within the past year or two, she takes that full emotion into this album right here. Being 17 years old at the time, she really gave Generation Z that Alanis Morissette, Avril Lavigne, or Taylor Swift Generation Z edition. Because you have angry sections of the album that sound pretty similar to Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morissette. Teen pop is also a leading genre in this album, kind of reminds me of Taylor Swift about 15 years ago. And also there's a little bit of pop punk in there, which kind of reminds me of Avril Lavigne a little too. So taking all of that into context, Good For You is probably a really good example of the angry emotion, because if you ever listen to Alanis Morissette, the energy is pretty similar there. Good For You emphasizes frustration and anger towards the aftermath of the failed relationship, because even though Olivia is saying good for you, she doesn't really mean good for you. She kind of still hates her ex-boyfriend. Even in the second verse, you can hear her chuckle a tiny bit when she says, good for you, as if she's in disbelief about what has happened ever since the breakup. And the pop punk style that she puts into this song, I like a lot. I like the drums, I like the vocal harmonies that she puts into this song. You can almost feel Olivia's mindset when she was recording this song. And that's a good way to summarize this album. It sounds like a teenage breakup, or at least the struggles of being a teenager. For starters, the opening song Brutal mentions what teenagers normally struggle with in their time during puberty and high school, such as insecurities, worrying about people's opinions of others, the social status that we struggled with when we were at that age. Her voice is very distorted in this song, and I do like that a lot. It's not like very overdramatic or very overproduced. It actually works with the song, especially the overbearing guitars that I do find appreciating. It's a song that I think a lot of us would really find a lot of common ground with, especially when we were growing up at that age. One of my personal favorites on that album, definitely. Of course, I mentioned Driver's License earlier, but I have to mention it again because it is the big hit that launched Olivia Rodrigo's musical career. It really does sound like 2021 with the power of hindsight too. Especially during a time when COVID was affecting all of us, we had to be isolated at home, and when 2021 came around, we started to see the regulations open up a tiny bit, so whenever we got our driver's license, we had that privilege to escape from isolation in our homes. And she even talks about how excited she was when she got her driver's license, only for the breakup to occur. The second chorus is my favorite part of the song because you can really feel the buildup and the energy heading into the bridge. The bridge is also a large section of Olivia's vocals that you'll see a lot on this album. There's also a lot of reverb on the drums that I'm a big fan of. One of the more unique songs on this album has to be Deja Vu. The intro alone would make you recognize the song immediately as, oh my gosh, that's Deja Vu. The use of the bells and the synthesizers throughout the song, I'm a big fan of. I also love the creative drums that Olivia uses. I like the idea of the instruments being muffled. It works perfectly and you can still hear them. The song also voices the same frustration as Driver's License. Instead, it kind of talks about, hey, do you remember what we did? Do you get that same deja vu feeling when you hang out with her? You gotta feel bad for Olivia Rodrigo's ex-boyfriend at the time because he really inspired a lot of hit singles. I can only imagine what he's feeling about this now. Because going off of that same thought, Enough For You is also a song that's really powerful towards the ex-boyfriend. The song stresses how much Olivia wanted to be for her ex-boyfriend, how she wanted to do everything she could. The song would feel empty with just an acoustic riff, but it doesn't. It feels full despite how compact it is. Not to mention, she is clearly singing her heart out, but her voice is so well produced, I am a big fan of it. It almost sounds like you're listening to an MTV Unplugged album from her. Jealousy, Jealousy I wasn't a big fan of at the time, but eventually I've started to like it more because the bass is very Tame Impala-like, especially on his hit single from his 2015 album. The song is a big dark horse candidate for me, honestly, because Olivia does this a lot. She does that with her vocals a lot. And Jealousy, Jealousy also talks about the same problems that she had in Brutal, where she sees women more attractive than her or anything like that, and she has jealousy building up inside of her. But my favorite song on the album has to be Hope You're Okay. Because first of all, the guitars sound absolutely phenomenal. And she's talked about her encounter with friends that have had horrible abuse in history with loved ones, friends, or family. It's such a sad closer because she's lost contact with all of the people that she's mentioned in this song, and she just says, I hope you're okay. It's pretty emotional if I'm honest. The final piano part is so swelling. I'm a big fan of it. It's a great way to close the album in my opinion. A common trend that we get from this album are two different styles. One side is the pop rock, the other side is the acoustic. I remember the first time I heard about Olivia Rodrigo, I didn't buy the hype at all. I didn't understand it. I thought it was pretty fraudulent. When I heard Driver's License for the first time, I immediately texted my friend. I was like, dude, I was so wrong. Because this album takes a lot of inspiration from a lot of legendary female musicians, and it kind of combines it all into one with Olivia Rodrigo's style. It's a very teen pop rock album that goes simple from time to time, but it works perfectly. And I love it. This album was nominated for what, 7 Grammy Awards? So that's insane. It was so popular that even before Olivia Rodrigo announced her second album, fans were still begging for the second album to be produced. Not every song is a grand slam, and sometimes I might skip one, but is it a bad record? Absolutely not. And thankfully, this wasn't the last time we would hear from Olivia. But all in all, my score is an 87. If you liked this review, hated it, if you want me to review another album, let me know. Until then, good night and God bless.